Hi traders, welcome to this demonstration of the all-new Javafx pivot system from FXArgoTrader. This is basically a hybrid Javafx and MetaTrader integration, and what we can do is we can control multiple charts and multiple indicators on charts from one interface, which is really cool. And we've made some changes to the interface recently which allows the trader to auto-detect the chart which is being worked on. So that really speeds up the process, as you'll see shortly. So first of all, let's just look at what we've got. So we've got an MT4 setup with 3 charts on it. Each chart's got the daily, weekly and monthly pivots indicators. And what I can do is if I go to my product catalog here, which is the Java program, I can move this around anywhere I want on my screen, so you can run the system on multiple monitors quite happily. If I go to pivot products and I select the daily pivots, you'll see an interface pop up. If I click on any chart, the interface will automatically detect which chart is being clicked on, and obviously the chart time frame and the chart ID. So I can very quickly make changes to this system. For a start, you can see this central pivot, which is PP, is basically overwriting the weekly M3 pivot. So first of all, what I want to do is I want to shift my label positions for my daily pivots, and what I'll probably do is shift all the major levels 2 periods or 3 periods to the right, and if I just click copy, that will basically shift all of those main pivot levels 3 periods over to the right. So now it's separating that out, which is nice. Notice you can see if we just scroll down a bit, we can see we've got last week's high on here. If we want to look at the yesterday's high and low, I can just click on show high-low data, and you can now see yesterday's high and yesterday's low. And I notice up here you've got the calculation basis for the system. I can shift the actual start and end calculation windows, which allows the traders to synchronize the pivots with their chosen trading time frame. So if you like trading the Frankfurt Open or the London Open or the US Open, you can synchronize your pivot calculation basis to match up with the time frame in question. And so that's pretty sophisticated. It allows you to basically make your pivot calculations hyper accurate. Basically, you need to look at the same levels that the traders in the environment or the time frame you're trading in are looking at as well. That's critically important. What we can also do is we can configure alerts. So on this WTI chart here, WTI is West Texas Intermediate for those who are unsure of what that instrument is. It's basically American crude oil. And if you wanted to set an alert on around the daily R1 pivot, as you can see price action is coming up to test this, maybe a potential short position coming up here, maybe, you would go to the R1 pivot, activate the alert, and then if you wanted to create a visible channel around that R1 level, you just click this channel here, and when we get a tick, you'll see basically a 3 pip channel opening up around here, which is 5 pips. So what I'm going to do, you can see here we've just had an alert triggered for us there. This is also the integrated alert system which the system comes with. What I'm going to do is I'm going to substantially narrow that channel down to 1 pip, and I'm also going to change the channel color to something which doesn't overwrite the actual line because they're the same color. So I'll make the channel teal, and I'll make the line color black so it stands out a little better, as you can see. So when price action comes up to test this channel, I would have had an alert, so I'm going to set the maximum alerts to 2 and the alert interval to 1 minute, and you'll see basically that alert being triggered if price action should come within that 1 pip boundary around the R1 pivot level. So you can see we've got complete control over everything on these charts. If I want to change the line styles, for say for example for yesterday's high and yesterday's low, I can do that very simply by just going into this line style editor here, and I can change the color of that information if I want to whatever, navy. I can change it to array, which will extend it into the future, as you can see, and so on and so forth. I'm not going to go through all the functionality. Obviously you can see that there's a lot going on here. We can also copy or ripple this profile we've just set up to all the other time frames for WTI. So if I just press copy profile to all time frames, then I then scroll through the other time frames into weekly. You can see obviously the R1 pivot level is still enabled, and so on. There needs to be a bit of configuration here, because obviously you can see that some of these data labels are clashing a little bit. So if you were actually running this properly and you're going to use this in anger, you would basically tune this a bit more to meet your actual personal requirements. But obviously it is totally configurable depending on what you're trying to do. And if we want to control the other pivots such as the weekly pivots, we just close down the daily interface and then load the weekly interface, and that pops up. And you can see here, so if I wanted to extend that WM3 line, make it a bit bigger perhaps, I can change the length of WM3 to say 20 periods, and what you'll see is that then extends that WM3 line out there. I may want to make it a little bit bigger. And now you can see WM3 is coming in there. Probably not a great idea because it overwrites the central pivot, but you can obviously see you've got a confluence in there, which is good. There you go. So that's kind of really the nuts and bolts of it. There's a whole load you can do with this technology in terms of having multiple profiles for different time frames. You can run alerts from any sound file, any sound location on your machine that you want, and it can play basically any WAV file that you've got. You won't experience any clipping when the sound files are played, because Java is handling all that. Whereas if you try and run alerts from or play sounds in MetaTrader 4 from an indicator, they'll clip because you can't slow down the program thread in MT4. So the other thing we can do is we can send email alerts as well. So if you enable the email alert option, the system will basically fire an email to your designated email address in the MT4 options. So hugely powerful, hugely quick to configure. I mean, I can go to any of these charts. I just click on this euro-dollar 4-hour chart here. I'm obviously on my weekly interface. So if I wanted to change any of the weekly, so that WM2 level there, I want to put an alert around it. You can see how quickly I can do that. I can obviously change things exceptionally quickly, extending lines and so on. Same thing with this Aussie dollar, US dollar. We've got a last week's low. If I wanted to change that a little bit, I can remove the last week's low data there, or show it if I want to. I can change the label position as well. So I want to shift that forward a bit by say 4 periods. You can see that now breaking out there, and I'm just tuning that to meet my requirements. So now we've now separated that last month's low and last week's low out, and obviously that's a great confluence there, and you'd expect to get some price reaction coming from a significant confluence of those two levels. So that is basically a pretty radical new change to the system. If you are running standard MT4 pivot based indicators, there's no way you can compete with the speed and the flexibility that this Javafx integrated approach offers. And the great thing is that this system is actually cheaper than buying the standard MT4 daily, weekly and monthly pivots independently. So we're currently running a special offer on this at the moment for $75, perpetual license, so you get all the updates in the future for good, forever. So it's a good deal. It's probably the best pivot system in the market, and certainly existing clients who are using the Javafx tools have been very pleased with them, just because of the power and the flexibility they give you. So if you'd like any more details, please contact info@fxalgotrader.com, or alternatively look at the website www.fxalgotrader.com. Thanks for watching.